History holds the answers, or does it? From forgotten maps to ancient secrets buried in plain sight, the world's greatest mysteries remain unsolved, and the truth lies hidden, waiting for you to uncover it. Please like, share, and subscribe. Histories, Mysteries, and Conspiracies. Season 2, Unraveling the Unknown. Where the past isn't just a story, it's a puzzle. Are you ready to piece it together? The oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. H.P. Lovecraft. On the night of 8th February 1855, a long and meandering trail of mysterious marks was left in the snow across the English county of Devon. The marks resembled hoof prints, somewhat similar to a donkey's. The intriguing and disturbing thing, however, was that the hoof marks didn't look like they'd been made by a four-footed animal. The marks mostly appeared in single file, as if some two-legged, upright creature had hopped or jumped. Occasionally, the tracks were double, suggesting the strange biped had merely been walking. It didn't take the local country people long to determine which entity was responsible for the hoof prints. They'd only heard of one creature that had hooves but walked upright like a man. The marks in the snow were soon named the Devil's Footprints. On the night of the 8th of February, 1855, 'twas a mystery of Sherlockian proportions. It remains unsolved to this day. The start of 1855 was unusually cold. The temperatures remained around freezing from January until March. Many rivers were frozen, among them the Exe and the Tyne in Devon. Too cold for a thaw, each winter shower added to the mass of snow, creating the conditions for the story that follows. The best place to begin is with a letter written to the editor of the Exeter and Plymouth Gazette. Sir, Thursday night, the 8th of February, 1855, was marked by a heavy fall of snow, followed by rain and boisterous wind from the east, and in the morning frost. The return of daylight revealed the ramblings of some most busy and mysterious animal, endowed with the power of ubiquity, as its footprints were to be seen in all sorts of unaccountable places, on the tops of houses, narrow walls in gardens and courtyards, enclosed by high walls and palings, as well as in the open fields. The creature seems to have frolicked about through Exmouth, Littleham, Lympstone, Woodbury, Topsham, Starcross, Teignmouth, and C&C. There is hardly a garden in Lympstone where his footprints are not observable, and in this parish he seems to have gamboled about with inexpressible activity. Its tracks appear more like that of a biped than a quadruped, and the steps are generally 8 inches in advance of each other, though in some cases 12 or 14, and are alternate like the steps of a man, and would be included between 2 parallel lines 6 inches apart. The impression of the foot closely resembles that of a donkey's shoe, and measures from 1.5 inches to, in some cases, 2.5 inches across, here and there appearing as if the foot was cleft. But in the generality of its steps, the impression of the shoe was continuous and perfect. In the center, the snow remains entire, merely showing the outer crust of the foot, which therefore must have been convex. The creature seems to have advanced to the doors of several houses, and then to have retraced its steps, but no one is able to discern the starting or resting point of this mysterious visitor. Everyone is wondering, but no one is able to explain the mystery. The poor are full of superstition and consider it little short of a visit from old Satan or some of his imps. The prints stretched for between 40 and 100 miles around the South Devon coastline, and it was the unusual cloven, hoof-like shape of the marks that suggested a link with Satan. A cloven hoof was such a well-known characteristic of the devil, a detail absorbed into popular poetry and art. Daniel Defoe had even written an essay of the extraordinary appearance of the devil, and particularly of the cloven foot. For Truman's Exeter flying post, the story was an excitement worthy of the Dark Ages. and they published a piece on the foot tracks of a most strange and mysterious description. In Dawlish, a group of tradesmen were so unnerved that they armed themselves with guns and bludgeons and, on the morning of the 9th of February, set off in pursuit of the tracks. They walked from Dawlish to Luscombe, Dawlish Water, and Oaklands. At length, after a very long and weary search, they returned as wise as they set out. It's easy to see why this phenomenon so startled the people of Devon. In some villages, almost every homestead had been visited, and the hoof marks went right up the sides of houses and over roofs. They meandered through churchyards and gardens and across fields, sometimes disappearing before starting again a few meters further on, as if the diabolical being had leapt or even flown. Sometimes they'd stop on one side of a haystack and continue on the other without any hay being disturbed. Elsewhere, the creature had squeezed through tiny holes in hedges or jumped tall fences or impossibly high walls. 2 witnesses claimed the footsteps had stopped at the entrance to a pipe just 6 inches in diameter, then reappeared at the other end. A feat many felt had to be supernatural, as no animal large enough to produce such prints could have wriggled through that tube. The prints apparently halted before the Exe estuary, a 2-mile-wide span of water, then casually started again on the opposite bank. There was also the sheer length of the beast's damnable journey. Though accounts varied, it was estimated that the being must have walked between 40 and 100 miles on the night of 8th, the 9th of February, an accomplishment no earthly creature could manage. The footprints seem mainly to have been concentrated in South and East Devon, traveling from Exmouth to Topsham, then across the Exe to Dawlish and Teignmouth. Some stated that the prints had appeared as far south as Torquay and Totnes, as far north as the outskirts of Exeter, and as far east as Weymouth and Dorset. The devil's hoof marks did, however, show some variation. Within some, the impress of a horseshoe could be seen. Other hoof prints boasted claw marks, lending credence to the notion of their infernal origin. Within a short time, the tale of the footprints in the snow became national news. Reports circulated of prints stretching for miles, appearing in impossible places, and vanishing only to reappear elsewhere. Was this the work of a strange, unknown animal, a natural but bizarre weather phenomenon? Or had the devil himself left his mark on Devon that night? Bravo. Select an option for more.